great. Thanks. Can you please give another hand for the concert choir? So next up, we have Simmons Speaks, and there will be 4 different pieces done. So please give it up for them.
When you're a woman, everyone thinks you're on your period. So a woman's college must be a big period circus.
You're an English major at a women's college. Do you just read about Sylvia Plath crying about her period?
I bet your bio classes are just a bunch of chicks studying their periods.
In history, do you learn about how Joan of Arc was just really mad because she was on her period?
The vagina monologues? Definitely a lesbian on her period.
When I told my senior class I was going to an all-women's college, they cocked their heads and said,
How could you stand to be around all those girls?
Jesus, that must be a bloodbath.
You'll probably all pick up.
Every RA must have Michael at the ready, am I right?
Get ready to swing from vines with your armpit hair.
I bet they burn bras all the time and listen to Ani DeFranco.
You know, I think my mom has a Rosie the Riveter poster, if you're into that.
I guess I'm thankful for feminism, but I'm just a guy's girl. Girls have too many feelings. That's why all my friends are boys.
Am I even going to be able to talk to you underneath all that vegan country granola BS?
But actually, we have spent the last 2 years unlearning a lifetime of BS. Unlearning sexism.
Unlearning racism.
While still on our periods.
Trying to figure out how smiles and lesson plans and white man's history books could ever cover up oppression.
Now I know why they call them white lies.
Realizing we've been treating women like a cancer.
Cutting it out before it spreads.
And they asked me why I would ever go to an all-women's college.
Because you're still asking me that question.
Yes, we do sync up.
And every month I count the seconds between PMS strokes and Tampon commercials. Count the days till the cycle is over.
But oppression will always happen like clockwork.
Like the end of a packet of pills.
Like you knew it was coming. I will always be expected to dance in a white dress and pretend like it's not happening.
But we will not wait until our stomachs feel so bloated with disgust and guilt that we crawl in sick and lay on our couches until it's all over.
Because we know it'll only come again. The cycle ends with us.
It took me 13 years of public school classrooms to be considered suitably
It
educated.
took me one day at my women's college to realize that they teach hate like the alphabet.
That they force-fed us gender roles and made us swallow our words, and now I learned to spell out N-O. We are not overreacting.
I'm just a little emotional because
How can you not be?
Women's bodies have become battlegrounds for men.
We fist like
We
bombs
invade our sex like we are land to be conquered.
and only get a year in jail.
So fighting the good fight.
I still think it's amazing how our hearts keep on beating even when they've been beaten.
despite the patriarchy,
Despite misogyny.
Despite racism.
despite homophobia,
Despite
Our periods.
In 1972, Russia beat the United States 51-50 in the most disputed game of international basketball that history has ever seen. That was also the year my mother was born. That was also the year that Michael Jordan, full of 9-year-old conviction, approached his parents and said, "When I'm in the Olympics, I'll be sure we win." At 12, Jordan got into a fist fight. He was suspended from school, and it wasn't the first time. For an entire day, his mother made him wait in the car while she worked as a teller in the bank. She handled checking accounts and watched him from the window. He was made to read a book in the passenger seat from 9 to 5, was dropped off at the library by 5:30 to read some more. His mother says that after that, he didn't go around putting his fists in other people's faces. as a sophomore in high school. Jordan was told he wasn't tall enough to play varsity basketball. The coach said his limbs weren't stretched out yet, said his spine needed to scrape the sky if he was going to play in the big leagues. So each night, Jordan went home and begged his family for help. His mother told him to bend his knees and sprinkle some salt into his Nikes. His father said, "Listen, son, you've got tallness in your thinking." Said, "Kid, you've got a 7-foot heart, just you wait." So MJ spent that year breaking JV records and adding building blocks to his torso until all 6 feet and 6 inches of him could soar across the court. The year I was born, he won a second Olympic gold medal in Barcelona, led the Chicago Bulls to the championship title, and was named the NBA's most valuable player for the 2nd year in a row. People called him your Hermes, wrote his name on their sneakers and notebooks, spray painted his number on the belly side of train bridges. That was also the year my mother worked in a boys' home in Mississippi. It was the kind of job you could get even if you were a high school dropout, even if you were only 20 years old, even if you had no real experience to speak of. She made food and jokes for teenage boys who really, really loved basketball. When her stomach began to grow, they would place their hands on the swollen bump of me and jump as high as they could, shouting Jordan into the wind like I was a basketball and they had a jump shot. In the hospital, my grandmother held me in her arms, looked at my mother and said, "Christy, this girl knows something." My mom nodded and said, "Yeah, her name is Jordan." When my nanny got angry, my secular mother lied and said it was a biblical name, even though I was never named after any river. Larry Bird said that the number 23 was just God disguised in a Bulls uniform, so maybe there was something holy about it after all. Maybe what I knew is that my limbs would never stretch out to be anything like Michael Jordan's wings. Maybe what I knew was that I would never have the balance to win any basketball tournaments, but that my name was born out of the desire to play the game anyway. My name is not a Space Jam destiny, but a promise that my heart is going to be 7 feet tall someday if I am willing to miss a few free throws. Michael Jordan knew. Michael Jordan knew he was going to be an Olympian, and I am his namesake. So that's got to mean something.
Ways I can relate our relationship to a pet.
We found it on the street in a cardboard box.
It was free, so we took it home. We couldn't decide on a name for a bit, but eventually...
I named it Love because I was always the one who made decisions.
And I was fine with that. All of our friends said it was adorable, and we knew it was.
We dressed it up for holidays.
We gave it a fountain with flowing effing water.
We let it sit at the table for dinner.
It learned to lick our wounds. We had many great days. I ask you, what happens if it dies? What happens if it goes out on the street and gets eaten by an eagle? What happens if someone steals it and needs it something else? How would we find it again? How would we ever really know it was ours?
I tell you that animals can get used to anything.
But what if it drowns?
We learned what we needed to feed it so that it could survive, so that it could keep on loving.
It rubbed against our ankles and slept in between us at night, and after a year it got sick. It would lie at the bottom of the staircase for days.
And I always had to carry it back up. I would pet it.
And then everything seemed fine for a while, and when it wasn't, my friends blamed the disease on obesity, said that we had overfed our pet, given it diabetes, as well as pancreatic cancer.
I said, yeah, maybe. But shut up! You don't know my pet!
The doctor couldn't figure out what it was. It just happens sometimes with pets. There's nothing you can do but wait. You would always pick it up and hold it, believing that the love in your arms could cure the disease. I would hold it too, but I think it always liked you more than me. It got weaker. It wouldn't even try to stairs anymore.
It was something congenital, a disease that came with its breed.
When it started coughing up blood, I said, we need to go to the vet.
But just inject it with a bunch of shit it doesn't even need.
How do you get better without medicine?
There are many ways.
Not when it's dying.
I won't give up on it.
We bring it to the ocean.
This is cruel. I won't do this. I won't let you.
This is the only way.
Okay.
But I think you already hate me.
We give it tiny kisses goodbye on the forehead.
We lower it in until it's so far down in the water we forget why we're even standing next to each other.
In the beginning, it was restless, and it peed everywhere.
It peed on the bed. It peed on the couch. It peed on my music stand.
It peed on my books, it peed on my clothes, it peed on your clothes, it peed everywhere.
We realized it was marking everything as its property so that we would never forget that it was there and that things belonged to it.
That we belong to it.
And
And I smell it everywhere still.
She's been distant from God, gazing into a tide pool instead of opening her arms to the ocean. I know that it hasn't been easy thinking that a man that you are so in love with does not love you the way you want him to. Being stuck to water your beloved seed on your own, bills piling behind on your rent, not knowing where the next meal is coming from. I know. I remember those nights when I would lay in my bed and I could hear your soul weeping, your relationship. A game of Russian roulette, a losing battle, but yet you find the need to keep trying, realize that you are a gem with so much power within you to unleash. There is something epic. And that lifeguard, red soul of yours, something that deserves more than words, more than roses, more than a fancy dinner. You deserve a sonnet, spit over a shooting star. You're the punchline, the climax in every poem that I have written. You, Mama, you lost yourself while trying to love someone else, but you can't love someone else without loving yourself first. So you started visiting God, and after a while, I saw your smile be put back together, blood lose hope to happiness. You finally stopped gazing into a tide full of insecurities and undeserved men and learned to open your arms to the ocean. Dear Mama, do you know that people admire you? The way your hair flows down your back, you look like a sun-kissed wanderer with aquatic eyes where blue moons orbit, taking turns shining between blinks and smiles. You're the spitting skeleton of a perfect first word, the kind that makes any woman want to break loose from her bones and rename herself a writer. Dear Mama, your dimples, the only punctuation preventing the spread of your lips from being a run-on into the rest of your face. Your voices have been held by the heart in your vocal cords, and every time you speak, I can't help but try to decipher the biblical passages that are hidden there. You are ocean-type, beautiful. You realize that a man does not define your worth. Realize that the fire that was once kindled cannot be rekindled again. And yes, you've known sorrows, you've been defeated, you have a trial-ever soul, a heart with stretch marks, a tattered page full of wingless butterflies, but you taught me. You taught me so that I will never have to cut my feet from walking on broken pieces of myself. Dear Mama, do you know that the womb that I was birthed in is more divine than anywhere that will ever call home? Do you know that there are wings threatening to sprout from your spine if you would merely reach towards that heaven? I am the spinning image of you, dear Mama. I am you. You, Mama, are queen.